First of all, thank you everyone to joining us today and welcome to the MineSec and UnionPay webinar. Today we are introduction to the SoftPOS and the UnionPay SoftPOS program. Today I have invited the guest speaker Yixin from the UnionPay International Shanghai and my colleague Jean, technical manager, to share about the SoftPOS. Today, in the 45 minutes webinar, we have 3 parts. First, we'll understand the payment market, SoftPOS introduction, and SoftPOS use case. The second part is UnionPay International of the SoftPOS introduction and the market strategy. The last part, Jean will introduce the MineSec and UnionPay SoftPOS pilot program. We hope after this webinar, you can understand more about the SoftPOS and our pilot program to let you experience the SoftPOS technology. Below, you can see our Q&A box. Feel free to enter your question. We will answer as many as possible by the end of the webinar. Okay, next, before sharing the SoftPOS, I would like to have a quick introduction about our MineSec for you. MineSec is a Singapore technology provider reincorporated in 2020. Our mission is to enable our partner or customer, like hardware manufacturer, solution providers, payment gateway, or acquirer, to jumpstart the SoftPOS technology. We understand the pain point of the payment solution is complex, secure, and regulation. MineSec solutions are simple, flexible, and innovative. Simple, we try to simplify it from the complex solution. Flexible is talk about the adapt to the business model of different partners and provide the different solution like the SDK solution and various white label solution for our partner. Next, before we understand about the SoftPOS, we should know why the SoftPOS is more popular. One of the reasons is about the environment change. The impact of the pandemic in the recent years have brought many change to our lives. There are many change in the payment industry as well. Consumers are demanding the continuous payment. Over 80% of the customer use the continuous payment. Apple Pay, Google Pay, or Samsung Pay is widely used. Continuous payment already become customer behavior. For merchants, the more small merchants are continuing or planning to use the e-payment, no matter it's using the credit card, debit card, or the QR code payment. In Asia, Middle East, or Europe, some of the stores only accept continuous payment, seeing that many of the merchants are willing to corresponding the change due to customer and the environment. Also, many of the countries already make a change. The proportion of the amount paid for the continuous payment has increased from the 50% to the 80%. PIN or non-PIN market are ready for the continuous payment. We can see the continuous payments is already replaced the contact payment in the payment industry. So next, I would like to introduce what is the SoftPOS. SoftPOS is a new solution in the market compared to hardware payment device. SoftPOS is using the NFC technology on the smartphone or tablet or some Android device to accept the continuous payment without any additional hardware, which means the SoftPOS support continuous only. For payment gateway or solution provider, they can own or control the SoftPOS development, integrate with various payment methods in one application. Design the SoftPOS or the application for the local market or integrate with POS software. Basically, every SoftPOS is unique. There's a research Let's talk about the total number of the merchants deploying the SoftPOS solution. For the past 34.5 million globally by 2027. Let's see what the reason make the SoftPOS hot in the market. There are several benefits to using a SoftPOS solution. SoftPOS can be using the merchants or user on smartphone device. Payment solution provider will reduce the hardware or maintenance and operation costs. For user, can be easier to download and install the SoftPOS application on their own mobile. You can use the App Store to install their SoftPOS application. And the mobile is using their familiar device. There are some payment gateway or the payment solution providers already consider to provide the SoftPOS solution only and no more hardware terminal. For the SoftPOS, we can use with the eKYC or KYB solution. From the user registration, the merchant registration to the accepting the payment can be automated and time effective. There's no more complex procedure and simplify the total process. Many payment gateway or acquirer already deploy their own QR code payment application. They can be easy to integrate the SoftPOS, improve the service and the payment method. Now, the SoftPOS is like a QR code payment. You can see like a pay-as-you-go model. It only pay when they used. It's more flexible for the merchants or user or even the payment gateway. After we understand the SoftPOS and what is the benefit of the SoftPOS, we can see the SoftPOS is very good, it's a good solution, and how we can apply in our real life. Here, there are some cases or scenario I would like to share with you. The market for those using the SoftPOS solution can be applied on many different scenarios. You can see there are lots of use cases. For example, in restaurant, radio or regions can accept the payment at table. There's no more cashier or counter. Customer no need to wait for the bill anymore. Like the delivery, the payment on delivery is transporting goods a customer and taking the payment for the goods at the time they're given to the customer. This is very common in Asia. The SoftPOS can convenient and simple for the payment process. For the pop store or exhibition, they usually need to rent a POS machine or POS machine. Now, if using the SoftPOS can be simple and convenient to accept the payment, and no need to take care about any hardware anymore. Because these SoftPOS can apply to different countries, market, and industry. Payment service provider can custom make the UI or UX or using their own mobile or Android tablet or device by the merchants or by the user. They can take the full control of the payment system. There are lots of opportunities and markets we have not covered before. SoftPOS is one that can help to expand the new market or discover a new business and services for our customer. Last, I'd like to share a real case in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong taxi is accepted payment for the SoftPOS. This example I'd like to share is there's many possibilities of the SoftPOS can be used in different scenarios. There's different application in different countries. The difference between the SoftPOS and the traditional POS. It's all about the application can be used to make change to meet the local culture on the industry. And this issue actually we can solve by the software, the application. Next, I'd like Yixing to introduce about the UnionPay SoftPOS and their marketing strategy. Yixing, thank you.
Thank you, Gary. This is Yixing from UnionPay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening to those who are in a different time zone than where we are here in mainland China, Hong Kong, or Southeast Asia. Now I'm going to give you a brief introduction to UPI SoftPOS solution. I hope you'll be able to have a comprehensive understanding, or at least a brief overview of UPI SoftPOS solution. I will begin with the definition of UPI SoftPOS solution all the way through use scenario, operation regulations, to implementation requirements. And in the end, I will give you some live example of UPI SoftPOS solution. So why is UPI SoftPOS? The UPI SoftPOS solution is a quick, safe, and easy way for integration. It enables acquiring anytime, at any time, anywhere, and only a low cost in device investment will be required. Next slide. Yeah. Now let's take a look at the UPI SoftPOS solution transaction flow. I will move forward to the NFC solution first. Upon presentment of the physical card or mobile device, the necessary SDK method will be called so that the security element and the NFC module will be called to read and retrieve card data from the card or the mobile device. And after the necessary card data are there, the acquiring app will initiate a payment request through the acquiring system to UPI for further processing. The blue box means that the kernel to be developed by the acquirer, and the red dotted box means the part that requires the acquirer to support here. And yeah, this is not relevant for NFC solution. And the gray box means the device processed. Next slide, please. The QRC solution can be divided into customer presented and merchant presented mode. The slide here demonstrates the flow of the customer presented mode. The merchant staff is required to perform certain clicks in the acquiring application to activate the camera to scan the QRC to be displayed in the user application. After the QRC scanning, similar to what has been explained previously in the transaction flow of NFC solution, a payment request will be submitted by the acquiring app all the way through acquiring system UPI to the issuer. For merchant presented mode, and a QR code will be displayed in the merchant staff application so that the user can simply get the code scanned on his or her own device. Similar to what has been explained after the code scanning, a payment request will be submitted. However, it should be noted that prior to the QRC scanning, a QRC generation request will be submitted from the acquiring app to acquiring system so that the necessary data will be returned from the acquiring system to the app to generate the QRC. UnionPay will provide the encoding specifications for acquirer system development. So now let's take a look at the SoftPOS user experience. At first use, it is necessary to perform certain registration in the merchant staff application. And after the registration is completed, the acquiring business can be begun. Now let's move forward to the use scenarios. As has been explained by Gary, the main target users of the mobile POS solution are the small merchants. These include, but are not limited to fruit stand, express, taxi, tourist shopping areas, night markets, and so on. Now, let's proceed to the next topic, the operational rules. The pricing and dispute operational rules are same as the card-based or NF or QRC-based business. And the device risk management follows the device risk management requirements have been explained in the UnionPay International Operation Regulations. So I think we can go into details in the project implementation period. Yeah, so here I will not elaborate on this. The next topic, implementation requirements. For NFC, UnionPay acquirers are supposed to develop their own SDK, which includes kernel and the acquiring app, which is able to call SDK method for reading the card information, receiving card information from SDK, and send the transaction information to the acquiring system. If PIN entry is required, then the acquirer is further supposed to support security element on mobile device. For QRC, the UPI acquirer is required to support to develop the acquiring app, which is able to support both or either of the merchant or customer presented mode according to the business needs. Now let's move forward to the next topic, security and certification requirements. This is actually a tricky issue when it comes to mobile POS solution. Now let's begin with the requirements for NFC. First of all, we require the level 2 certification and compatibility testing to be performed. The items to be completed include, but are not limited to send all the supported phone types, a list of the supported phone types to the lab, and to send the phones which install the app and the APK to the app to the lab. And the lab will further conduct the lab will conduct the compatibility testing on different types based on the phones provided by our members. And the L2 quick pass test cases should be run in 4. This is business as usual for our existing members who have already supported UnionPay POS business. For security assessment, the requirements varies according to whether PIN is to be supported. If no PIN entry is to be supported, the lab is going to test by following the PCI CPOC requirements. And if everything goes well, the CPOC certificate would be issued. For PIN entry, the lab will perform the testing by following the UPI SoftPOS solution requirement for PIN transactions. And the last requirement will be the level 3 test cases to be performed. And the level 3 testing is composed of the functional and integrational testing. Both testing is supposed to be run in full. And UnionPay will provide, UnionPay is going to arrange the test scenario through portal specifically for level 3 testing. And after registration and submission of the testing application, UPI is going to assign test personnel to assist with the all the necessary procedures of the level 3 testing. So I think in the project implementation, we can go into details on this. So here I will not go into detail on the level 3 testing procedures. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to give you some information on the live projects. Until now, we have already rolled out two different programs in respectively in Hong Kong and Malaysia, respectively. Take the live example in Hong Kong as take the live project in Hong Kong as an example. Both QRC and the NFC solution have been supported. And the merchant staff can perform certain clicks and to enter the service portal and enter the amount. Let's assume that the QRC, the payment will be through QRC, and the camera will be, the camera model will be activated to scan the code. After the code scanning, and let's assume that everything goes well and the transaction has been approved by the issuer. In the last, in the rightmost screenshot, the merchant staff can have an overview of all the existing transaction histories. So I think that's all for today's introduction to UPI SoftPOS solution. Let me know if you have any uncertainties, questions. I'm always there for you.
Okay, I can easily share about the UPI, the SoftPOS introduction, and about the certification, implementation, and this example. Also, if you have any question, just feel free to type in your question in the Q&A box. Yixin will answer your question after the webinar. Next, Jean we're going to share about the SoftPOS solution architecture, and also we'll share about the MineSec and UnionPay SoftPOS program, pilot program. Thank you, Jean.
All right, thanks, Gary. Hi, everyone. I will start by presenting the SoftPOS solution architecture. As you can see, there are a few components in the SoftPOS solution. I will explain what are the functions for each component and why they are needed. First component is the Android handset, or sometimes we go by the payment industry terminology, COTS, which stands for Commercial Off-the-Shelf Device. This is the handset that the merchant will operate and has to come with NFC and payment application in order to perform payment transaction. So what are the functions that allow for payment transaction? They include first, the contactless kernel, which is the firmware that executes the transaction process according to EMV standard. Second, the payment application or acquiring application. This application will read account data via NFC and then encrypt the card data before sending them to the payment server. Also, this app provides the payment service provider and merchant the user interface for terminal and transaction management. And the last function would be security function, which is the software protection mechanism. This will be the function that collects and reports attestation information from the codes and application. Here, I want to emphasize that this security function is a new requirement for SoftPOS. It's not required before in the traditional POS solution. And some of you might wonder why is it so? This is because in the traditional POS solution, the POS would have gone through the secure hardware certification. But this is not possible for the SoftPOS solution that uses codes. So the security function becomes really important, and it would have to rely on strong software protection in order to ensure that the SoftPOS solution is secure. So for this, the payment service provider usually would rely on a SoftPOS Ready SDK to provide for the software protection. Okay, now let's move on to the second component, which is also new for SoftPOS solution. It is a set of backend systems that performs the security functions for the SoftPOS payment app. And this includes three key functions. First is to process attestation or health check data from the SoftPOS application and COTS devices. And it also enforces pre-established security policies. And the second function is to monitor and to provision security controls in order to detect, alert, mitigate suspected or real threats and attacks, which is done against the SoftPOS application and COTS devices. And the third function would be to manage the SDK lifecycle and to perform blocking mechanism to block suspicious COTS devices. Okay, now we can move on to the next few components, which I think you all should be quite familiar with, as they are required in the traditional POS solution. So for the third component, it would be the transaction and merchant management platform. So this is a system that wraps transaction requests according to the payment host protocol or requirement. And once it's done, it sends the request to external payment hosts, and then it checks the transaction results from the host. So this system also contains data center to manage all transaction data. It will also allow for terminal configuration to reset. And now let's go to the fourth component, which is the payment processing system. This is a system that receives encrypted account data from the SoftPOS payment application. And it will process the transaction via a secure channel before sending it to the acquirer host. It will also pre-process the transaction where it verifies the security of the SoftPOS app and decrypt the transaction request data in order to get back the plain text transaction data. So this is usually played by the role of a payment transaction, a payment gateway, and it's managed by the payment service provider. All right, so the fifth and the last component is the acquirer that will connect to the card scheme and issuer in order to authorize the transaction. And these conclude the high-level overview of SoftPOS solution. The key message here is that for SoftPOS solution, there are two key new components as compared to traditional POS solution, namely the security function provided by the SDK and the attestation and monitoring server. And next, we're going to the next slide so that we can introduce our offerings for MineSec and UPI joint SoftPOS pilot program. So the first offering is our MyHadis white label SDK. It covers for two key components. The first is the MyHadis SDK, which is UPI SoftPOS ready. The second component is our MyZeus attestation and monitoring server. So this MyHadis SDK comes with the full set of APIs to call onto the UPI contactless kernel. And also it has different security features, which allow for the payment service provider to develop a mobile payment application. For our contactless kernel, we have been qualified by UPI and all the other major card schemes. It can also support pure kernel, which is the foundation for, I think, most domestic scheme in the local markets. So for the security features offered by our SDK, it has been qualified by PCI CPOC, which is the SoftPOS solution without PIN, and also Tap to Phone, which is coming with the secure PIN pad. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the security functions. So it consists of first the secure PIN pad, where it's designed to prevent hacker to guess the PIN code that the card user enter. And the second would be the payment app and card software protection. And that is usually grouped as static code protection, runtime protection, and attestation protection. The third would be the SDK management, where the SDK would register to our attestation and monitoring server for device binding, and also log management, which contains attestation data collected from the card sender application. Lastly, our SDK also provides data management with cryptographic function to encrypt data, data storage, key loading, and provide secure communication. So this offering will be ideal for payment gateway or payment service provider who already have payment application, and you only need to plug in our SDK and attestation and monitoring server in order to complete all the required components for the SoftPOS solution. Now I'm going to the next slide to talk about our second offering, which is our MineSec white label payment application. So this SoftPOS payment application not only readily integrate the two key components that I described in the offering before, which is the SDK and M server, but it also covers other key components like the merchant management and transaction processing. All right, now we will show you our white label payment app demo. Now, first, we see that, the application is loading. And the first screen that we will see would be the merchant login screen. So once the merchant key in the username and password, then we can see that once the login is successful, the merchant can now enter the amount, and then it can initiate the transaction, where the cardholder can now tap their card onto the phone, and the payment app will show that the transaction is authorized by the acquirer. And then we can see that the app can show the receipt, and also the app can support not only the card-based transaction, but also a QR code-based transaction. And over there, you can see that we can also have the overview of the transaction history from the app. And the payment app also comes with terminal and merchant management. For example, to look at sales, void, settlement records, receipts, and also behind the scene, it would do the key loading. So this app has a user-friendly UI, and it allows for customization, such as changing the logo, the theme, and some of the transaction settings. So this offering would be ideal fit for hardware or terminal vendor that already has a partnership with acquirer, and perhaps also with a kernel or without the kernel of your own to jumpstart the development for SoftPOS solution. We can share more technical details on this offer for those who are interested after this webinar. All right, so that's all for my part. I will now give the floor back to Gary.
Okay, thank you, Jean. Okay, I think now this the last for the webinar. Next, we're going for the Q&A section. But after the webinar, we will have a survey form and also an email to all of the participants. So, and also, if you have any question, just feel free to send us an email. We have an email here, or also you can contact me and Jean and Yixin as well. Okay. We have a question here. Maybe Jean can help to answer is if they want to use the MineSec solution, what the certification do they need?
All right, thanks for the question. All right, so our solution has already passed level 2 and SDK security evaluation certification. So for our customer or partner, you only need to go through the integrator security evaluation, which is focusing on the application, the payment application, and the payment backend integration. Actually, most of the security requirements has already been covered by our SDK as well as our attestation and monitoring server. So that being said, for SoftPOS solution without PIN, that means that you would have to go through PCI CPOP, but for integrator security evaluation. And then for solution that support PIN, that would be the tap to phone or tap on phone from the individual scheme. So apart from the security evaluation, you also need to go through brand sensory certification and the usual level 3 certification.
Okay, thank you. And the other question is about the Apple. I think, okay, they're asking about the SoftPOS. Is it support the iPhone or the Apple phones now? Jean, can you help to answer?
Okay, sure. I'll take this as well. Yeah, so the question is about Apple, whether it's supporting SoftPOS, right? Yeah, just for clarification, the SoftPOS solution that we are presenting today is only supporting Android devices. And to the question, yes, Apple Pay SoftPOS solution has started to roll out this year, but they have not, and they might not as well actually be opening up to third-party vendor. So that means that Apple, they would have their own SDK and attestation and monitoring server, and they only allow for payment service provider that sign up with them to integrate to their system, to support SoftPOS on Apple. Hope that answers your questions.
Okay, thank you, Jean. Okay, yeah, there's some more question, but yeah, because the time is almost like done. So later on, we will put the answer the question after the webinar. We may post in our website as well. So thank you again. Thank you everyone to join MineSec and UnionPay SoftPOS webinar. And now today is the end. So thank you everyone. All right.